Today's emulation video, I will be making it on the Sony SMC-777 home computer. This computer was released in November 1983, but the first model was called Sony SMC-70, and that was released in 1982. They both have the same processors, which is a Zilog Z80A at 4.028 MHz. And the SMC-777 has a secondary processor, the Mitsubishi M5L8041, and it comes with the operating systems that it comes with is Sony Basic, which was popular for most computers at the time. Basic was, and CP/M was popular in Japan. This is kind of like DOS or something. And it came with 64 KB of RAM. This thing came with a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive, 280 KB for storage, and speed was 500 kilobits per second. That's 62 KB per second. So it could load programs pretty quickly. So if the amount of storage is 280 kilobytes, you could load the program in about 5 seconds or less. And it also came with a tape drive rated at 1200 BPS, a graphics controller, HD 46505S1. This is what it was capable of: monochrome at 640 by 480, 640 by 200, 4 colors out of 4,000 out of a platelet of 4096 colors, 320 by 200 resolution, 16 colors out of 4096 colors, 16 by 100, 16 colors out of 4096 colors. This was okay at the time. I guess this is equivalent to VGA, but it's a little bit better than VGA because VGA can only select 16 colors out of a platelet of 64 colors. This can select 16 colors out of a platelet of 4096 colors. Zilog 80 was used in a number of computers. It's used in about 86 other computers back in the late 70s and early 1980s. And the most popular being the Amstrad CPC, Commodore 128, MSX, NEC PC 800, NEC PC 600, 6000, NEC PC 6600, NEC PC 8800, Radio Shack's TRS 80, ZX Spectrum, ZX80, ZX81. And it was used in a number of video game systems, about 10 of them. The most popular being the Amstrad GX4000, Daewoo ZenMax, Nintendo Game Boy Color, Sega Master System, and Sega SG-1000. This was a video game console released in Japan exclusively. This is how the computer looked like, the SMC-777 or Sony SMC-777. Looks like a pretty high quality machine. It had a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive, which you can see right here. I think this was one of the first computers that ever used a 3.5-inch floppy disk drive. This is from a magazine or magazine catalog. This was the SMC-70, which was released before the Sony SMC-777, 1 year earlier. This is a printer. The layout of this computer looks like a mid or late 1980s type of computer. These computers, the layout is more like a Commodore 64, ZX Spectrum, MSX, Atari 400, 800, Apple IIc, Commodore 64, Atari ST, or something of that sort. Kind of the early 1980s or late 1970s to early 1980s design. This is SMC-70. As you can see, it has something like that, looks like a Sony VHS deck right there. Has a keyboard as well. These are the peripherals for the Sony SMC-777. I think that's some kind of joystick. That looks like a cassette or something, some kind of a program. Looks like a memory upgrade or something. Not sure. This is some kind of a number pad for the keyboard number pad. Today's keyboards already have the number pad built into it. The keyboard that's used on the Sony SMC-777 is, I think it's a 74 keyboard. The ones that we use today is a 101 key keyboard, a QWERTY keyboard. This is the printer. This looks like an extra floppy disk drive. I don't know what that is. These are various monitors that you could buy for it. These things were not cheap. 89,800 yen. See how much that comes out to. $1 was equal to 13.73 yen. $200. What? Really? $286. Okay. Into a dollar. About $313 for this US. This one costs about $1,391 for this. It shows you where these peripherals connect to. This is for the monitor, I guess. This is for the printer. This is for the joystick. Other peripherals I don't know about. Number pad. That looks like a cassette player of some sort. You want a cassette drive. That's also, this is for the 777, that's for the HP55, which came later. Cassette, TV, number pad, joystick. Printer. Okay, so you get the idea. This floppy disk drive costs about how much? Let's see. Floppy disks were not cheap back in the day. They were expensive. About 188 US dollars for that printer. Okay, that's about it. Now let's run the emulator. Or where you can get the emulator. You could get it here. This is a Neo Kobe emulator pack. It has a number of emulators in here. It's got the Sony SMC-777 emulator in here as well. You could get the programs here on this URL. Program for the Sony SMC-777 is here, I think. right here. You download that. It's only 11.4 megabytes, not very big. You could also find the emulators in other here. You could find it in this URL as well. It's Takeda's emulator, and there's Bob Sato's emulator. I think it's the same thing. It's WinSMC. You could download either or. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But for me, I'm going to be using the Okobe emulator pack, which I already extracted here. And I will be putting this in there. That's what I'll be using. You don't need any BIOS files to use this. It just works right out of the box. The only thing I have to do is put the games. All the programs. This is that Sony SMC-777 program zip file. And I'll put some programs in here. I think that these are disk files. .1dd, that's the format. File extension for disks. Mario Bros, I know that game. I'll just put the software that I know, because there's a lot of stuff I don't know in here. Like, maybe some of them are just purely Japanese titles, which I will not probably know. I don't know what that is. That looks interesting. Memo Land. I think this is the original disk for this. If you want to use BASIC or something, I'm not really sure. Do that if you want to program in BASIC. Floppy magazine. I don't know what that is. We'll try it out. Looks interesting. Okay, now let's run the emulator. There isn't anything malicious in here, but if you are worried about that, you could always use Microsoft Defender to scan the files, and there wasn't anything malicious in there. Let's load a floppy disk. Go to programs. Let's load Choplifter. F10 is for full screen. You could use your keyboard to play this. Your arrow keys to move. Space bar is for shooting, so space bar to start. Using my arrow keys and my space bar to shoot, basically. I press the space bar and I'm using my arrow keys to the left to switch positions. pretty good, actually. I'm surprised. Not bad at all. It looks a lot better than the Apple II version. So let me get out of here. Let me get out. The 10 again, I guess, to go back. Let's load another one. So eject that. Load another disk. Let's try Mario Brothers. Set. F8 is reset. It's quite responsive. It's not bad. The graphics are good. I think the graphics for this is very good. If you compare it to other 8-bit computers at the time. This is not bad. Sony is known for making good electronics and computers and stuff like that, and they still make I think a video game console today. Sony PlayStation 5, I think. Let me get out of here. Try something else. Eject. That is Load Runner, not Roid Runner. Not sure how to fire. There it is. Okay, it's C. Z and C to shoot. Z. C. E and Z and X. Okay, Z and X basically. Okay, that's good. Let's try something else. Let's check that. Try Invader. I think that's Space Invader or something. I'm not sure. Loads into CPM. See what's in it. DIR. So Invader. We could run the game like that. spacebar and arrow cursor keys to shoot. I mean to move and shoot. This is very responsive. It's very good actually for a vintage computer. Try something else. I don't know what Hudson is. We'll see what that is. Okay, we could select different games. Let's try Cannonball. Got flattened. Okay, let's try again. Try. Star Blazer. Okay. I think that's about it. So after you exit, it saves something in a, I think, .ini file or something. Yeah, it saves your configuration on there, and that's pretty much it. If you know anything about the Sony SMC-777 computer or the Sony SMC-70 computer, you could leave it in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.